All right. We apologize to anybody listening to the podcast or on Sirius XM for that, but that was Keon Coleman having fun with the cryotherapy chamber in Buffalo. He's going to be a lot of fun. He's going to be, and you know, the thing about cryotherapy, don't burn your feet, Antonio.
Yeah, right.
Cryotherapy chamber. That's the one pro tip for Keon.
Right. No, that's I mean, that's gone to a different level with stuff like that in like NFL locker rooms and the updating of technology, and like you don't need to like go into like basically a damn tomb anymore to sit in the cryotherapy. You can just be in a room and it can be that cold. That's definitely better. But yeah, Keon Coleman, he's been extremely funny so far in his little Bills debut.
All right, so which doesn't belong and why? Receivers drafted in 2024. We start with top 10 receivers. There were 3 of them. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Nabers, Rome Odunze. Which doesn't belong and why?
Well, I'm going to go with Malik Nabers doesn't belong, right? Like Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, I think are really damn good football players. Want them on my team. They were worthy of that top 10 pick. But Nabers, to me, is in another class. And I think a lot of football, as you've heard me say, and I think you've heard through the grapevine too, that Nabers was viewed by a lot of teams in another class. Superstar, Odell Beckham Jr., Jamar Chase are the names that have been thrown out there to me by people. As well as I know, there was action at 5 for the Chargers pick for Malik Nabers. Nabers was a guy that teams were like, oh, we might trade up to get him and try to jump the Giants. So Nabers to me has the chance to be the biggest superstar of the group, and that's why I'll say he doesn't belong.
I agree with you there, and I respect your evaluation of the receivers. I'm going to say Harrison just because he's got an independent streak, a maverick streak that I can relate to, that I like, where he doesn't talk to reporters. He doesn't do what he's supposed to do. He didn't sign.
Pisses his bosses off on a Monday, like stuff like that. You mean like that kind of stuff?
He didn't sign. He didn't sign the group licensing agreement, so you couldn't buy his jersey after he was drafted by the Cardinals, and he's not going to be in the Madden game, and that makes people upset. But I like it, man. Do your own thing. Do what's right for you. Don't go along with the herd. Be your own person, and I like that about Marvin Harrison Jr. There's a lesson to be learned.
I hear there.
Sometimes you just go along with what everyone else does because everyone else is doing it. Well, that doesn't make it right. It's just what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do. I appreciate him, being different and doing what he thinks he needs to do to be successful for himself. I just certainly appreciate that.
All right, trade-up targets. These are all players for whom the team that got them moved up. Xavier Worthy, Xavier Legette, Ladd McConkey, which doesn't belong and why?
Well, I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey. I mean, one of the obvious reasons. I mean, Worthy and Legette are first-round picks, right? But I think the reason I go with Ladd McConkey is just he's a little different than those 2 other guys, right? Where Xavier Worthy and Legette are looked at as big play specimen types, right? Where I like the Ladd McConkey pick for the Chargers. One, we talk about culture all the time, right? Culture is about getting guys in there that'll buy into what you do, how you play, do all that. And that's where I like the Chargers picks. They're those type of guys. They're Harbaugh type of guys. And they got 2 big receivers in Palmer and Quentin Johnson. Now you got a guy that's kind of the jitterbug slot, read the coverage, make the appropriate cut or break, right? And yet he still has enough speed to scare people deep, but he's a little different than those other 2 guys, and that's why I'll go with Ladd McConkey.
I'm going to go with Legette just because
his country accent.
I mean, my read on it is he wanted somebody to jump the Panthers and draft him in the worst possible way. When he comes out and says they've told me 50 times they're going to draft me, it's like, does he really want to go to Carolina? If he does, you don't say that out loud, and then eventually the Panthers trade up to make sure he doesn't slip away to someone else. Again, you're never going to get the truth, but it's not very often that you have a guy who says so loudly and so clearly, as Legette did, that a team has told him over and over again that they're going to draft him. I feel like he was hoping for a way to a better team, but we'll see. Maybe the Panthers will get better. Big-bodied receivers in late round 1 and round 2. Brian Thomas Jr., Jaguars, Bills taking Keon Coleman, and the Colts with Adonai Mitchell, which doesn't belong and why?
Well, yeah, I'm going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. because I do think he's in a different class than those other guys there. Brian Thomas Jr. at 23 is an incredible pick. You know, as you have heard, I mean, and you know, of course I think so, but I know this is a pretty normal league thought. Brian Thomas Jr., as far as the film is concerned and all that, was right in the class of the three guys we started the segment with, as far as Harrison Jr., Odunze, and Malik Nabers, right? So, and he's certainly, I think, a jump up from where Keon Coleman and Adonai Mitchell, who I like a lot, but like, this is a guy in Brian Thomas Jr. that has the size of those guys, yet he's got 3 rockets up his ass to say, see you later, I'm going for an 80-yard touchdown. And that's where that is special. You know, I was a little surprised. I didn't know what Jacksonville was going to do with that pick. I really didn't. But, damn, they decided to go all in on offense and be strong there. You know, they addressed defensive stuff in free agency, but now, damn, you throw that receiver in there with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, right? And they still got Zay Jones down there. That's a damn good, you know, trio they got in Jacksonville right now.
I'll go with Coleman just because I love the kid and I love the personality. I love the authenticity. We had the clip yesterday of him talking about his coat and where he got his coat, and he got it at Macy's. He's going into the whole psychology of when it's the right time to go buy your coats. And it's just, I just love guys who are who they are, who don't feel compelled to be something other than that just because the cameras are on and the lights are shining. So he's going to be a very refreshing presence, I think, in the NFL. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.